This video I'm going to look at the hole systems that I would teach as part of the vertical leader, either cave leader or mine leader award within the British Caving Association syllabus. What I would say though, before we start into any hole is really weighing up whether that's the right thing to do. In most situations, if it was a serious situation, then probably the best thing to do would be to lower a casualty to the ground, make them comfortable, and then go and get help. It's really worth being mindful that suspension trauma is definitely a thing. If somebody is suspended in a harness for a period of time and they're not moving, then you really do need to get them to the ground and you need to lay them out flat, as it can seriously hurt them. Equally, you need to weigh up whether you can land somebody. So hauling somebody is just part of the issue. You also need to be able to land them onto a good bit of ground and then transport them away from that pitch head to somewhere secure. So yeah, really worth thinking whether a haul is the right thing to do. That said, if you're looking to support somebody climbing up a ladder, or they need a little bit of a help or a little bit of a bunk, then a haul probably is the right thing to do. So yeah, really weigh those things up. And the other things that I would say is it's really worth practicing these techniques. You'll see in a bit that it's really easy to make kind of just little mistakes, little hiccups that can have quite an impact in terms of being able to land somebody or complete a haul. And finally, it's really worth practicing those techniques a lot, ideally in a bit of a sanitised environment. So here it's really ideal. I've got a climbing wall. I've got a bag full of sand that I can use to practice the hauling with. You could do something similar, fill tackle bags up with some big water bottles, or even just get a mate to sit on the floor and drag them across the floor a little bit. But practice somewhere that's really quite nice and safe. Do practice it underground as well, but when you do go out to practice it underground, then pop a safety rope in, have some sort of backup in place so that if you did make a mistake or do something wrong, then at least you've got something that get you out of that trouble. So if we have a little look at what we've got set up here, we've got a typical traverse pitch head with the belay device attached to 2 loops of a alpine bowline on a bight, and then myself secured to a bowline on a bight as well. Got belay device, a rig, which you typically belay with, which is great for belaying and quite straightforward to lower from as well. If we're going to lower any sort of distance, it's a really good idea to have braking crab in place so that you can get an extra bit of friction. If I want to convert this into a haul, a simple haul system is just going to involve a pulley and a jammer. So this is the pulley jammer that I typically carry with me. So a nice little rescue sender pulley, very efficient, these pulleys, and a non-aggressive jammer. So this has got no teeth on it. I've got my hand jammer as well on the SRT kit, so I could use that. So if I'm doing a simple haul, then I'll try and clip the pulley to the rope as soon as I can, because I don't want to drop that and let it slide on the rope. And then I secure my jammer to the rope, take the catastrophe knot out. So I'd always put a catastrophe knot in here if I'm having to let go of the rope. And I can send that down. I want to keep this within reach of me. I don't really want to send it so far down that I can't get it, because if I need to lower and take this stuff off, if I can't reach it, that's going to create a big problem for me. So here what I've got is a very basic kind of Z rig. It's typically called a 3-to-1 haul that should allow me to lift that load, but it is quite a lot of work. It's a 3-to-1 haul because for 1 unit of effort that I'm putting in here, I get 3 times the reward at this end. And that's because 1 unit of effort is going down through this pulley, coming up this way, and because this pulley is moving up when I haul, then I get a mechanical advantage for this. So here, or rather at this point, twice my effort is being magnified by this pulley. It's not quite twice the effort because I'm losing some efficiency through friction here, but saying these pulleys really good, about 90% efficient, so I'm not losing too much. That 1 unit of effort travels up through the rope, goes through a rig, and then in theory comes out the other end and 1 unit of effort travels down the rope here, meets the 2 units of effort that I've created from this little mechanical advantage, and that's where I get a 3-to-1 mechanical advantage. In reality, I don't get anywhere near that, saying I lose some effort in there. It's around about 90% efficient, so I lose about 10% of my effort here. And in the rig, I lose truckloads, probably about 70% of my effort. So really, this is probably more like a 2-to-1 rather than a 3-to-1. It's quite hard work to haul up like this. So this haul is great if I'm trying to keep a rope really tight on somebody climbing a ladder, for example. But if I was going to have to physically lift anyone of significant weight, then that's going to be a real challenge for me. So what I would do in that scenario is I would get another pulley and I will pop that pulley up high if I can. And these are really nifty little pulleys from Petzl. Allow me to open this up, pop the rope in. And now what I can do, given that I've got an SLT kit on, is that I can put my rope in my chest jammer, and now I can use my entire body weight to haul that load up. So although it's not actually created a mechanical advantage or a bigger mechanical advantage for me, all I've done is change the direction of this rope because this pulley isn't moving, it's fixed. It is more ergonomic for me in that I can pull down and I can use my body weight. If I haven't got a chest jammer, if I'm just using a kind of typical climbing harness, for example, I can still do this system, but I will need a carabiner on my harness. And then I can just put an Italian hitch into that carabiner, crank the rope up, sit down, crank the rope up, sit down. If I need to lower somebody a short distance, I can do that through my rig, and I can do it through this whole haul system if I want. Provided it's just a short distance, and because I've got this haul system, that's really quite straightforward for me. But if I wanted to haul them all the way down, for example, then what I would need to do is I would need to put a catastrophe knot in here. Look. Because I'm going to have to go hands free, strip off all of this kit. Pop my braking crab back in. And then I can continue to lower all the way to the ground. Now, the other advantage is that diverted haul system, if I just re-rig that. The other advantage with this more ergonomic haul system is that if I've got a group of people who can help me out, having put this pulley in here, I can divert my haul in that direction and it doesn't pull the load from side to side too much as I'm hauling up. So everything is kind of being hauled straight up, which is far more effective for me, far more useful. And what I would say though is that if you are getting a team of people to haul, keep that team of people to a low number because you're going to put a lot of energy into this system. And if you are hauling and let's say your casualty gets a shoulder or something wedged up against a bit of rock, or the rope catches on something, there's a really good chance that you'll damage kit or damage the person that you're hauling if you are putting too much effort into the system. So this haul pretty much covers most of the scenarios that I would expect a vertical leader within the mine leader or cave leader scheme to have to deal with. However, if you were a small person, or if you were having to haul somebody quite big, significantly bigger than yourselves, or if you're having to haul somebody a good distance, then you probably want something a lot more efficient than a rig in place. When I recorded this, I forgot to add one other potential haul system that could be used by somebody who's maybe a little bit smaller and needed to pull somebody a bit heavier up the rope. So I've got the 3-to-1 haul system that I set up earlier, slightly different kit. So I've got a different belay device running through here, but essentially I've got my 3-to-1 redirected at the top here so I can pull down a little bit more ergonomic for me. But the potential evolution that I've got here involves adding another pulley and a jammer. So in this case, I've just got a little tib lock and a little pulley. So what I'm going to do is, just to be super safe, I am going to put my catastrophe knot in here. And what I need to do is put my pulley on this rope. And then I'm going to put my jammer on this rope. And the jammer is pointing down, same as the other jammer. Okay, and we'll just get rid of that catastrophe knot now. Pull everything through, see what we've got. Okay. So essentially what I've done here is I've got a 3-to-1 here and another 3-to-1 down here. So it's a 9-to-1 mechanical advantage. So I need to be quite careful here because there's the potential for putting an awful lot of energy into this system. And certainly with tooth jammers that are only rated to about 4 kilonewtons, they'll start shredding a rope at 4 kilonewtons. If I have too many people hauling on this and my load gets stuck, there's a really good chance that I'll damage the rope. So let's just talk through how this becomes a 9-to-1. So I've got 1 unit of effort going in here, through this pulley and coming out the other side. 1 unit of effort travelling right the way through this rope. This 1 unit of effort is actually magnified. So I've got half the load here, half the load here. So it's magnified at this point. So at this point I've got 2 units of effort because that pulley is coming up. It's going up through this pulley, which is staying put. So that's just redirecting things. Coming down, meets here. And that's my 1 unit plus these 2 units, 3 units of effort here. Now what that means is that everything from this point forwards is now 3 units of effort. So I've got 3 units here, 3 units coming through the pulley and back up again, magnified by the pulley, because again the pulley is coming up. So now I've got 6 units of effort at this carabiner. 3 units going through my belay device and back down again. And my 3 units meets the 6 units here, which means that everything from this point is 9 units of effort. So I can haul. However, you don't get anything for free. You can see here that I've got to move 9 meters of rope just to gain 1 meter of lift. So although it is a big mechanical advantage for me, it is also a bit of a pain, to say the least, to keep resetting things and haul that up. If you were a small person, or if you were having to haul somebody quite big, significantly bigger than yourselves, or if you're having to haul somebody a good distance, then you probably want something a lot more efficient than a rig in place here. And so we're going to go through a couple of options to take the rig out of the equation. That said, it's really important that we're able to convert a haul to a lower very, very quickly. And just in case somebody does get snagged, or if somebody's kind of medical situation deteriorated significantly and you did need to get them back down to the ground. So whatever system we put in place here, it's really important that we're able to put a rig back in there and or lower somebody down very, very quickly. So put catastrophe knot in and just go through the kit that I carried now before. that kind of situation. If I'm going to have to hold somebody big, what I'm carrying now as an additional haul kit is this little setup. So what I've got is a Traxion. It's a slightly older version of the Traxion. There's a new version out. I've got a short sling, and it's a single length sling. I've got a knife, and one of the things that I've done with the knife is that I've taken the point off it, so there's less chance of me stabbing myself with it. And then I've got a PPE Mayon, so a wide opening Mayon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sling and my Mayon off this setup and take the knife off as well. My knife I'm going to clip to my spare cow's tail so that I know where it is, and if I need it I can grab it quick, and then I can also close it and drop it, knowing that I'm not losing my knife. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my Mayon onto this rope here, and I'm going to fix my Traxion. So one of the advantages with the Traxion is you can fit it to a loaded rope. I'm going to fit it to this loaded rope, but I want it kind of as close as I can to my rig so I don't lose lots of this space, and that's where I'm going to put my sling in. So I'm going to measure that, and a single length is too much, 2 is 2, so I think it's a bit too much as well. So what I might try and do is pop it into a 3. Okay, so I take my Traxion and I'm going to fit my Traxion to the loaded rope with the teeth pointing up like so, and then rotate my Traxion and take it in like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to engage the teeth on the Traxion, and I'm going to push that down the rope as hard as I can. The next step is I'm going to take my catastrophe knot out, and I'm going to lower gently so that the load is now taken onto the Traxion. And at this point I can take the rope out of the rig. So now what I've done is I've put a device in place here that's far more efficient than the rig, and I can build another 3-to-1 haul. And this haul is substantially more efficient than my previous one. So again, if I want to redirect, so I can use my whole body weight, I can do that. Now, once I've hauled somebody up as much as I can, then I want to put them back into this rig so that I can lower them down onto whatever ground I'm landing them. Or if I needed to swap things around and lower that casualty down to the ground, I need to be able to do that. So the process there is to take the rope out of my chest jam, which I've got that. I'm going to take the rope from the Traxion and I'm going to put it back into the rig. And now what I'm going to do is another haul here. You can see that the Traxion is getting loose. And I want to get to the stage that I can release that cam. So I might find that easier with my chest jammer in place because I can take my hands off the rope. And you can see that that has gone loose. I can release the cam on the traction, and I can take traction off the rope, tie it to one side. Now, if I want to lower a short distance, as we did earlier, I can lower through my whole system, or if I needed to lower all the way down to the ground, battery knot in, strip out my jammer here. And away we can go, we can lower all the way down. Now, the other advantage of having a sling in place here was that if for some reason I couldn't lift that load any further to release the cam on the traction, then what I could do in a worst case scenario so if I was unable to haul, then what I could do here is I can cut this sling. So I'll take my knife, keep a hand on this section here, and if I'm going to cut the sling, then I'm just going to open the knife a short way so that I'm really careful in what I'm doing, and then I'm going to saw through. Once that's cut, I can close the knife, drop it down, and then I can lower everything down to the ground. Lose my traction at that point, but that's not my priority here. If I don't have a traction, there's a couple of other devices that I could use. So a classic haul system that people will be familiar with is making use of a pulley and a jammer. So if I take my pulley, pop it in place here, I can take my jammer and install that underneath the pulley and clip it in. And here, with this type of pulley, I can clip my sling into the bar of the pulley there, send that down, make sure everything's nice and tight, and again, lower onto that pulley. And in the same way that I did before, I can do my 3 to 1 here, and back the same way, I can put my rig in place. And I can haul until my jammer becomes loose. A little bit higher. There we go. And I can strip this kit off. Probably haul through there, but just to keep this clean. We can haul this way as well, or lower this way. Another alternative for me, if I've got this type of pulley, so really efficient pulley this, but I haven't got that gap in between, on this pulley I can pop it onto the rope. So, and on this setup I can secure my jammer. Like so. Again, lower a short distance until the teeth of the jammer have been captured. Keep it on through. And haul through this way. You can see the jammer is capturing wood. To release the right thumb. Same again. I just need to raise the hole up a little way until I can release this jam and strip all the components out to make the lower easier. And one last variation on this. If I have one of these carabiner captive pulleys, can clip that in there, and here I can clip into that ring. Go through the system. Set up my Thursday. To reverse, I'm going to take the rope out here. hole until I can release the cam on that jammer. Strip these components off.